I have been meaning to watch this for a couple of days. I saw it. I added it to my watch list so we could watch it on stream. Solis did let me know that he had a video coming and that I would probably like it. So the title is Wuthering Waves is a better game than Genshin Impact. More reasons why part 2. Okay, holy PvP. It's about to start. Let's check it out then, guys. If you haven't checked out Solis as well, you should go show him some love. Great content creator. This video banged 14k views. Let's see what he's got to say then, shall we?
In case anybody was wondering, nothing much has changed since the last video. Wuthering Waves is still a better game than Genshin Impact.
I'd say, if anything, it's got better, you know.
And it looks like a lot of you seem to agree. My last video on this topic has over 3,700 likes and an 89% like to dislike ratio as of this.
That's pretty. To be fair though, any videos when I tend to roast Genshin, they get really, really good like to dislike ratio. So you know, I guess it's a trend.
For those of you who may not be super familiar with what is normal for a YouTube video, that is an insanely good ratio for such a controversial topic. And so now here we are with the inevitable part 2 video. Many of you asked for this, and I'm sure a lot of you guys.
Oh, let's go. I'm ready.
When he reacted to my video, he even said that I have to do a part 2 because there were some things that I missed.
Oh, Stixie was even involved. Okay.
If you haven't seen the first video, make sure to go check it out.
We have.
I'll leave a link in the description. Additionally, this is probably going to be the last video that I make comparing Genshin Impact.
Will it really? After those views, I think we might see a part 3.
To Wuthering Waves.
I'd be finding any way to make a part 3 if it was me.
First, I don't want to continue beating a dead horse, Genshin Impact being the dead horse. And second, there are only so many things to...
Come on, it is fun though. Like, you know, look, don't get me wrong, Genshin is a good game. It's been a while. It's been a while. I really need to go back, but I don't want to because Wuthering Waves is just kind of gonna... It is what it is, right? But it is kind of funny sometimes to roast Genshin. It's funny sometimes to roast every game, really, especially when people get mad about it. That's the best part about it.
Compare. Eventually, it's just going to get really stupid. Like, oh, man, look at this blade of grass. Look at the water. It's so much better. But no, for this video, I actually have another legit list of things to compare that I think makes Wuthering Waves a better game than Genshin Impact. So let's dive right into it. But first, hey, if you're new here on my channel, my name is Solis. Thanks for stopping by. I make videos about gacha games, commentary, guides, and one of my videos that's upcoming is even about lore. So if that's the kind of stuff that you like,
bit of lore from Solis. Okay, all right.
Like to see, please consider hitting the subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. So the first topic that I want to cover today could be none other than...
See, I definitely, sorry to keep pausing. I definitely wouldn't call my videos lore videos. They're definitely theory crafting videos. I try to, like, my videos are more about taking stuff from the game and then just, you know, connecting the dots with the real world and trying to see potentially what we think could be inspirations for things in Wuthering Waves.
And character designs and character models. Is it just me, or is it the case that the character designs in Genshin Impact have taken a nosedive off of a cliff since around the time that Friendliness...
Bro, it's not even just that though, man. Like, dude, I remember the days of when I started playing and I was like, damn, Diluc looks good, man. I want to get him. I want to get him. He looks badass. And then not long ago, I watched a video comparing the characters. And again, I've said this multiple times. Diluc just looks like a 12, 13-year-old boy dressing up as an adventurer. Dude's cosplaying, especially next to Morphe, who's not even the most badass male-looking character in Wuthering Waves as well. It was just like, damn, man, that just took me out so bad. I was like, that was a character who I considered kind of badass when I started playing the game, and now looks kind of pathetic.
Farina came out. I don't think it's just me. Farina, both her character design and her as a character, is by far one of my favorites in Genshin Impact. But I have been very much not impressed with most of the designs that I've seen since then. There are a couple of exceptions to that.
I hope he talks about reused animations as well, especially with Claymores.
Arlecchino and Kiori were pretty good. Clarand was okay, but let's talk about some of the characters that came after that. Sethos, hot garbage. Sigewinne, nope. Emily was so non-exciting that I even noticed tons of the Genshin Impact community trash-talking her. That's how you know it's bad.
See, I'm kind of weird like that, man. I kind of liked her design, but you know, whatever. Whatever.
And Kanich,
yeah, trash.
I don't know if
trash.
I'm saying that right,
trash.
But no, absolutely not.
Trash.
No.
Mualani. You know what? I actually like Mualani's design quite a bit. Her design is super cute, so she gets a pass. And I really want to hit on Chaska. Chaska's design could be worse, but to me, she looks incredibly boring. She looks like an OnlyFans pirate that you would find at a shitty Halloween party. And speaking of parties, let's talk about Ororan, however you say it.
I think you probably have a lot more fun with her at the party though than in Genshin. That's for sure.
This is the worst character design in all of Genshin Impact, in my opinion, and it's not even close. If you took him to a freak off and doused him in 100 bottles of baby oil, P. Diddy would still kick his ass out. And here's the one that could have really brought me back into the game. The Pyro.
Bro brought P. Diddy into the situation. Holy shit, dude.
Hoyoverse just released a
Solis is starting his villain arc.
Credit where credit is due. It definitely looks like they're branching out and trying something new with this one. And by that, I mean they brought on the designers from Zenless Zone Zero because she looks like she belongs on the back roads with Caesar and Bernice. But hey, if you want to do another shower scene and throw Mavuka in there, you won't catch me complaining about it. But the whole bike thing just seems really weird to me, and I really want to like her design, but no matter how hard I try, I just can't. To me, she just doesn't look like she is from the same universe or like she belongs in the same game. Now, as far as the character models themselves, they just don't look as good as the character models from Wuthering Waves. And
this is true. This is true. Like, I've had people genuinely, now I know it's all subjective in what you like the look of, but I think these are a little bit more objective if you've got eyes, in my opinion. Now, the actual theme of the characters, you can be like, no what, I like that character, it looks better to me, like the style of them, whatever. But in terms of the actual models themselves, from like a graphical fidelity standpoint, I think Wuthering Waves just clears them. Like, I've had people try and argue the case against this. Yun still needs to become a Resonator, most Giga Chad looking male character in any gacha game, in my opinion. But yeah, they look so much better. There's just no comparison in my eyes. But at the same time, it's expected. You know, you've got a game that's on Unity that came out in 2020 to a game on Unreal 4 that came out 6 months ago. So I'll give Genshin a pass for that.
In my opinion, their facial expressions, their movements, the animations, just everything. Now, this might be somewhat related to the game engines that are used in each game. I'm not sure, but Genshin Impact uses a game engine that was built off of the Unity engine, and Wuthering Waves uses the Unreal engine. But in terms of character designs, Wuthering Waves just...
What happened to the Genshin engine as well? Weren't Hoyo working on their own first-party game engine? Am I just tripping? I swear to God that was a thing, and it was going to be called the Genshin engine, right? Have they just like scrapped that now? They're like, forget it, we're just going to go on. Because as far as I'm aware, their upcoming games are going to be running on Unreal 5, I believe, if the information that was released in regards to the potential 5 upcoming Hoyo games. And I'm pretty sure at least a couple of those were going to be running on Unreal 5. Now, of course, it's all conjecture because we don't know for a fact that these are happening. But, you know, it comes with, I guess, some reliable rumors through the grapevine.
Just takes the cake with all of the characters that they've released so far, in my opinion, with the exception of a few.
Yes, get that fucker out the game. I'm sorry, that dude makes me angry. We've spoke about this again. We're not going to get into it. That dude makes me angry.
Like Yinlin, Jin Shi, Chan Li, Shan Li Yao, and my personal favorite, Camellia. Kuro Games has also
number one all day long.
The drip marketing for the version 2.0 characters, and the internet has gone absolutely wild. They released drip marketing for 5 characters, and they hit...
Hot take, Carlotta, best looking. I think Phoebe is number 2 in terms of the female, then Zany. But I think I'm going to go Carlotta, Brandt, Phoebe, Zany, Rochia. Like, I like Zany, but I don't know, man. Phoebe looks really good to me, and Carlotta, come on, just look at her, man. Just look at her.
Hit the mark with every single one of them. Everybody seems to be really excited about Zani the most, but my personal favorite is Carlotta. And I
Let's
usually
go,
don't care
my
for
boy,
male characters
my
quite as
boy.
much, but Brandt has definitely got my attention.
Let's
Depending
go.
on what his kit is,
Great
that
minds,
is
man.
definitely a
Great
male
minds.
character that I would consider pulling. All right, hold on. I'll be right back. Sorry, I had to get some popcorn for all of the comments that I can already see coming. Hey, now, make sure...
Man, Solis is really entering the villain arc, right? He is.
You guys keep it respectful in the comments, okay? Now that we've got character designs and character models out of the way, let's talk about character progression. Part of this is related to
I want to know if animation's going to be in here.
Covered in my last video, which was Genshin Impact's artifacts versus echoes in Wuthering Waves. So I'm not going to belabor that particular point too much, other than to say in Wuthering Waves, I have multiple characters either fully built or built good enough. In Genshin Impact, I grinded for months and I still have mostly dog shit artifacts on my C2 Raiden Shogun. But that's not the point about character progression that I really want to bring home here. What I actually want to focus on is character skill progression. In both games, the max skill cap is at level 10. Okay, that's not entirely true. In Genshin Impact, you can get past level 10 by getting constellations or copies of a particular character. But let's forgo that for a minute and just say that the level cap for both games is 10. Now, in Genshin Impact, in order to level up a skill from level 9 to level 10, you need this item called a Crown of Insight. Usually, we just call them crowns. They are very, very limited. You can get a few of them just from playing the game, but once you have gotten all of the ones that you can get from playing the game, that's it. The only time that you can get more of them after that is from limited time events, or whenever they release a big patch and there's a new area and new main story. Sometimes then they will also include some there. So essentially you are gated from maxing out your character's skills to level 10, and so you can't maximize your character's power and damage unless you use one of those crowns, and then like I said, they're very limited, so you have to be quite picky and choosy about which character.
I agree. Don't get me wrong, I think some of the top end of leveling your characters does get a little bit grindy in, well, it's more that it's like you're kind of time gated in a sense, aren't you, in a way, in regards to some of the materials, but it's not terrible, but it does really feel like it slows down to that end part of finishing your characters off. But it's definitely a better system.
And which skills you use them on. I'm gonna go ahead and just say now that this is absolutely ridiculous, and it took playing Wuthering Waves for me to realize that, because in Wuthering Waves...
Isn't it weird that there's still people that defend a lot of the systems in Genshin, which is kind of weird, and I've started to notice now that you've got let's say the Genshin refugees, some of them fled to Wuthering Waves, some of them fled to the safe haven of Honkai Star Rail, right? And now Star Rail's starting to implement some shitty stuff in Star Rail, but the people who fled Genshin, who couldn't defend the stuff that was in Genshin, and are now defending the stuff that's in Star Rail, which is kind of weird. But yeah, you've got that kind of separation of, you've got the people who, it took a new game for them to realise they were kind of being treated badly. You know, they found another partner, they were like, man, damn, she cooks, she cleans, and she don't even fucking get mad at me, you know? Come home every day, the house is spotless. And then there were just those people who, even though there was something better, they're just like, nah, you know, I'm just blind to it. I'm in too deep. I've been here too long. You know, we've been living together for 4 years now, and it's just, that's it, man. I can't start over again. It is weird to see that, like, split in the community. The fact that some people still in Genshin, they're just so far gone in, not in terms of, at the end of the day, if you enjoy the game, you enjoy the game, but I'm talking about more specific systems where people will still defend some of the dog shit systems in Genshin and argue in some way that it makes sense. Come on, man, it just doesn't. I get it. It's too far gone now. The game's not really going to change now, but, you know, at least stop defending it.
There is no special item that you need to use to max out your skills. You can max out every single skill for every single character with just the mats that you need for that character. So all you have to do in order to max out all your skills is just grind.
It is good that there's not like a specific material that goes across everybody that you need that's incredibly limited. It is a much better system. It's not perfect, but it's much better.
Simple as that. Now, a minute ago, I mentioned getting extra copies of a character. So let's talk about that for both games now. For each character in both games, you can get up to 6 extra copies. In Genshin Impact, they are called Constellations, and in Wuthering Waves, they are called Sequences. If you only have 1 copy of a character in Genshin Impact, you would call that C0. In Wuthering Waves, you would call it S0. But then if you were to pull 6 more
Still call it C0.
copies
help it.
of the same character, then it would be C6 or S6. Here's the thing about it in Genshin Impact though. At least 2 of the 6 constellations are always pointless, because all they do is add 3 extra points to one of your skill levels. In
True.
Wuthering Waves, none of the sequences are like that. All 6 of them add value.
There's definitely some that are not as good as others, of course, but you know that not everyone's going to be like God tier at the end of the day. But there are some that are like, don't really care about that one. But yeah, definitely a better system again.
In some way to the character.
And also, really, apart from like what Boiji, but she's a 4-star in regards to getting the revival. They don't really, lock behind actual gameplay mechanics in terms of like your character doing something new in regard to like a kit ability or a mechanic. It's usually just a buff, of your currently owned abilities as well, isn't it? Which is a good thing, which Genshin does a little bit more of that as well, and Star Rail does as well, which sucks.
Kit in a way that is more exciting than just adding extra points to your skill. And that's a whole nother topic that I'm not going to deep dive here, but the character kits in Wuthering Waves are way more complex than the character kits in Genshin Impact. If I had to make a terrible analogy about it, I would say that Genshin Impact is like playing Lego Star Wars, while Wuthering Waves is like playing Jedi Fallen Order. It's a terrible analogy, yes, but you get the point. But in Wuthering Waves, all of the...
I will say though, I would like to see some more expression in how you build out DPSs, whether that comes into making the actual attribute more useful, or the echo sets themselves have some more just some more ability to make the attribute itself better, so we can maybe potentially look to building DPSs in a different way to scale our damage, rather than it just really pretty much being, crit rate, crit damage all the time. It would be nice to be able to focus or being able to build a DPS like that, but also by switching out into different echo sets to be able to really go into attributes a little bit more. Which hopefully we'll start to get to see in the future as well. I am confident that we'll start to see some of that. I was talking about that in regards to afflictions. I think I'm going to make a video specifically talking about afflictions in what I'm calling it, in regards to attributes actually having something to them, that it's nothing like the Genshin system, but it's potentially like a stacking system within that one attribute. So it's not about reactions, it's more about stacking and getting afflictions. Because I feel like there definitely could be a little bit more nuance in regards to the DPSs, at least, anyway.
The sequences that you get
inter-character nuance is really good.
Typically meaningful and add complexity to the kit, and sometimes can change the way that you actually play a character. Now, that's not to say that some of the constellations in Genshin Impact are also not impactful or meaningful. That's not what I'm saying. I am just saying that I think it's stupid that 2 out of the
plus crit rate, damage, attack percent sequences in most units in Wuthering Waves, which is no different than plus 1, 2 levels in Genshin. That's fair. I definitely do think the sequence in regards to the your buffs feel better in that regard. But you're not wrong in regards to, there's I can't argue with that, really.
6 constellations do nothing but add 3 points to a skill, especially considering how much money and or resources it costs to get copies of a character. And speaking of how getting...
And some characters are better than others. Like, in my opinion, obviously, I think Camillea's got some really good copies. Like, I think majority of hers are really good. Now, some characters not so great. You just take him, for example, for me, it's a game changer, isn't it, for like a shorekeeper to get a C2 shorekeeper. Insane game changer. Some characters you have to go a little bit further in to get that change as well. So there's that impact as well. It just depends on how they're all set up as well, doesn't it?
Extra copies of
same with Genshin as well.
Is better in Wuthering Waves. Let's talk a minute about the free-to-play friendliness of both games.
We all know this. We all know this.
Significantly easier both to get a 5-star character and to get copies of a 5-star character. Unlike some of the other...
See, for me, it's not even about the ability to get characters in Wuthering Waves that makes it more free-to-play friendly. It's the fact that because of the skill expression in the game, it's just, you can pretty much clear all content with your initial characters in Wuthering Waves that you get to start off with and that you get from your selectors and you get by just playing the game. So like it's easier to get characters, but it's also easier in terms of the game because of the skill expression allows you, if you play properly and play well enough, to clear all of the content in the game without needing to spend. Now, I'm not saying that that drive's not there. That drive's is more there in Genshin, but it is at the same time. It is. I am saying that it is. Because it's a little bit less about the skill expression and more about your elemental reactions and your team setup. And I'm not saying that you can't clear content with older stuff in Genshin. I'm not saying that at all, but it just feels that with Wuthering Waves, you really don't need to be spending at all in the game or even really pulling to be able to do what you need to do. Some characters make your job a lot easier, and the synergy you get with your teams obviously makes a big difference. That's a fact. But I think beyond getting the stuff, what you can do with the base stuff in the game anyway is just,
stuff. This is
speaks for
not my
itself.
opinion. This is a fact, and it is for 2 reasons. Well, 3 actually, but one of them I already covered in my last video, and that's that the banners for Wuthering Waves are better because the hard pity for a 5-star character is at 80.
Fuck the weapon banner though. Every single time I have to go to pretty much hard pity to get the weapon, and it's pissing me off. So next banner, because I forgot to get String Master last time, Kuro, I want to get String Master in temples. I want to drop a temple, give me the weapon, and we'll all be happy, right? We'll all be happy.
In Wuthering Waves, as opposed to 90 pity in Genshin Impact. But besides that, there are 2 more factual reasons that this is also the case. The first reason is that Kuro Games is only releasing 1 new 5-star character per patch.
This is a
the
good
second
point as well.
character in a patch.
Will it always be like that though? That's a thing that I do think will change. I think in the future we will get to the point where we're potentially having 2 5-star premium new characters a patch, or at least that happening on a semi-regular basis. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think we're going to get to that point.
Is always a
or we'll go
rerun
down this route of a
previous
5-star and a
character.
4-star
So
being on a
what does
rerun.
this
So
mean? It means that you don't have to shell out all of your resources every single time that the banner switches. That is, unless you really want or really need the rerun character. So essentially what that means is you have more time to save up your resources to make sure that you get the new characters that you want. In Genshin Impact, they release 2 new 5-star characters per
early on in Genshin, I spent 300 pulls trying to get Eula's weapon. I only still have a 3-star weapon on it, never going back.
patch. So you're either going to have to skip one, or you are shelling out everything, likely including whatever is left of your wallet, to get both of the characters if you want them.
Yeah, I saw some people in regards to, like, when it comes to the revenue charts, the PvP, I saw people in the Genshin community saying that, or the Hoyo community in general, I guess. Oh, well, I don't know what community they're from, you know what I mean? But they were using the argument that that's where Kuro, that's why they're going to end the service. They ain't making enough money because they're not doing double banners in that regard. And he's like, but that's better for the player. It's allowing you, as a free-to-play, to hoard your resources and as a light spender to really focus on getting yourself ready for the next banner instead of just getting bled dry every single patch. Yeah, I think it's definitely a better thing for being free to play, and a better thing for players in general. Even if you're a spender or you're a semi-whale or a whale, it's allowing you to be a lot more efficient because you're not having to be like, shit, I've got to whale out on both banners. You could just whale out on that one banner, stack for the next month, and then whale out again. It's better for everybody. Now, it might not be better for the coffers of Kuro, but at the end of the day, is that what playing gacha get? Well, it is, isn't it? That's the end game, really. The end game is the PvP, to be able to say, well, the game I play, some dude in China is bought a new Maserati because of my spending habits this month, and that's what it's all about, really.
And
fuck
in
the
Genshin,
game.
the only way to get extra copies of a character is by pulling on them in the actual banner. In Wuthering Waves, once you have got your first copy of a character from the banner, you are able to go into the in-game shop and purchase 2 additional copies of that character using
it is
a
insane,
currency
really.
called
It is
Coral,
insane.
which you obtain naturally from pulling on banners over time. This makes it way easier to
And I can never stack that shit because I have no impulse control. The second that gets to 8, I'm making a pull.
get
I just
extra
can't help
copies
myself.
of a character. Let me show you this. Case in point. This is my Camellia, and as you can see, she is S5. And if you think that I had to spend a bunch of money to get this, you would be wrong. The last time that I topped up in the shop, believe it or not, was during the Shorekeeper banner. I had a little bit left over from that, but the rest I was able to save. Now, before you grab your pitchforks...
What is this power? Explaining to me, guys. You guys keep coming in free to play. I got this so many asteroids. Teach me the ways of impulse control, guys, because I'm a light spender, and I've spent... When was the last time I spent? After that, and I haven't been able to get a C5 Camellia, and I'm broke as fuck on game at the minute. So, you know, teach me the ways, guys. Teach me the ways, because, like... I ain't getting that look, man. I've just had to go absolutely broke in game just to get Camellia's sword, and it was painful.
Let me be 100% real here. I had an insanely good stream of luck with this one. One copy came early at like 40-something pulls, and then I got 2 literally back-to-back. And I won 3 50-50s. This is probably the best luck.
That sounds nice. Never had it. Sounds really nice though, you know.
That I have ever had in any gacha game ever. But overall, I was able to buy 2 of the copies from the shop, and then I got 4 from the banner. And I didn't spend a single extra dollar to do that, unless you count the little bit that I had left over from the Shorekeeper banner. If you think that this is insane, don't worry, so do I. But to be completely fair, even if I had had bad luck, I think I would...
That is a little bit on the extreme end of things. That's not your typical experience, to be fair. But you know what, though? It's not wrong.
Would still have her at S3. So next time you hear somebody arguing about the irrelevant and mostly guesswork numbers from the Sensor Tower report, maybe just consider that the reason that people may not be blowing their life savings on the Camellia banner or any other banner is simply because they didn't have to. Okay, so now I want to shift gears.
But Solis, you don't understand. How are those board members in China going to be able to buy the new cars? We have to spend, and then we can use it to beat other communities around the head. That's how it works, right?
A little bit and talk a little bit more about gameplay. To be more specific, I want to talk about meta for both games. I have had a lot of people tell me that they would like to add elemental reactions to...
No, I don't want elemental reactions.
But I'm going to tell you why that is a terrible idea.
I don't want elemental reactions, but I'm going to talk about potentially attribute afflictions in an upcoming video, which I'd be curious. I've kind of mentioned it before in previous videos, but I do want to talk about that, but I don't want an elemental reaction system, no.
And let me start by asking you a question. Let's say you have a brand new player to Genshin Impact. He or she is having a fun time and they want to learn more about team building and they want to know which characters they should pull. So they go check out some YouTube videos, some Reddit threads, maybe join a couple of Discords, and what do you
elemental
think
reactions with status effects
after that?
Pretty much, that's what when I'm talking about afflictions, because like, you know, I wanted to coin a cool term. Basically, same thing, status effects, afflictions are creating like a debuff, depending on the attribute, and even potentially you could go that extra level depending on the character and the attribute, and that's stacking within the attribute. And my idea was thinking that then that would allow people to build characters around attributes rather than just raw damage and crit rate. Obviously, that'd be important to have, but it'd allow teams that have characters that really are supposed to be getting off field to get the DPS on field would be able to stay on field a little bit more, so people could play with other characters a little bit more within the team, because they're able to stack damage through the attribute itself, and then add obviously debuffs and such. And I was thinking of things like, you know, chain damage in something like you know, like lightning, dot damage in say something like fusion. You know, I was even thinking of maybe like blindness in something like Havoc, where it can proc enemy misses and stuff like that. You know, slowing, potential freezing on smaller adds in something like Glacio and so on. You know, extra juggling from attributes in something like Aero potentially. And then, you know, getting damage multipliers on top of those, but sticking within the attribute itself. So it's not about mixing attributes together. It's more about like trying to build specific teams then into the attribute maybe. But yeah, I was going to make a video about that, talking about it, and maybe like try and lay it out and think a little bit deeper into it and the potential pitfalls that could come with it, because there definitely are. But yeah, I don't want an elemental reaction system, no.
That you're damn right. They're about to build themselves a Hyperbloom team. Because why in the hell wouldn't they do that?
Exactly,
You build a Hyperbloom team with minimal investment, you press a few buttons, and everything in front of you drops dead. Congratulations.
This is where the problem is with Genshin. That's one of the things that I really like about Wuthering Waves is that it's that skill expression. You know, it's like PGR's got that, you know, that you are a big factor in what goes on rather than what you've got and the synergy. Although I do want that to be a factor because, you know, I want you to be able to build cool teams, but it's about what you're doing on the field more than anything.
You have beat the game. You
To a
have
degree.
1 Genshin impact. And this is why elemental reactions would be a poor
Completed it,
addition
mate.
to Wuthering Waves. The meta for Wuthering Waves is nearly
Alright, Thunder,
as
catch you
good
later.
as it can possibly get. That is to say that the meta doesn't really exist. Now, for team building, there are definitely optimal ways to do it. You want to build a team with the same basic structure, typically a main DPS, a sub DPS, and a support/healer. And you want to try and make sure that the intro skills and outro skills of the characters vibe with each other. But the thing is, there's no one singular team or singular meta that completely takes over the game. It's a lot more about skill expression, and really, you can kind of do whatever the hell you want. And because there are no elemental reactions, it will probably always be that way. Hell, there's a 4-star character named Danjin, and if you build her right and you are good with her,
Love a bit of
can
Danjin
solo
action.
hologram bosses. All right, so let me know what you think down in the comments below.
Yeah, pretty much agree with everything he said in it, really. I do think, now, like, this is what I say, I do want to make a deeper dive video talking about afflictions or status effects in how there is real potential pitfalls to it. You know what I mean? That it's something that would have to be thought out properly. And I don't know if we're too far gone anyway for something like this, but, you know, it's cool to have these ideas. You know, you want that nuance to still be there with intros, outro skills, all that sort of stuff in the standard team building. But I just think having status effects from attributes would be kind of cool to have as well. I think it'd just allow for different types of combat and you know, allowing, because at the minute attributes don't really feel like that have much to do in the game. Have a cast to inflict bleed, potentially. I feel like it's kind of like another dot damage though, isn't it? Like I feel like fusion would be the one for that. I like my idea better, Charlie. Now, but jokes aside, it really doesn't feel like much, does it? Attribute damage. It's just another form of damage at the end of the day. It's just another multiplier in a sense, isn't it? You know, and it really doesn't mean much. I'd like attributes to actually mean a little bit more. Now, potentially, that could change in future with different echo sets that, you know, make attributes, you know, mean a little bit more. And I do think that probably will happen. I do think we will see, like, because as I said, we're going to see this Gen 2 of Resonators. I think we're going to see this Gen 2 of Echoes as well. And in 2 years' time, the Echoes that we're using are not going to be the Echoes we're using now for the most part. And they're probably going to add a lot more nuance to the game also. But yeah, man, another banger video from Solis. I can see why it's got so many views, man. It's a good one. I pretty much agree with everything he said as well, for the most part. As well, guys, if you haven't checked out Solis, go check him out. Go show him some love. Go subscribe. It's getting to 5K. Everybody who watches all the reactions, because I'm sure plenty of people will be reacting to this, go shows him some love. He deserves it. He makes good content. He's a chill dude as well. Seems like a nice guy. And yeah, man, let me know what you what you think as well, man. The PvP's on again, I guess.